Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I want to talk about just some of my favorite photos that I've taken in my landscape photography journey over the past couple of years. And if I like doing this series, I'll do more videos like this in the future. I just picked 5 photos that I really like, and maybe I could tell a bit of the story behind them, and like kind of how they came to be. I'll walk through like where they were taken, what time of day they were taken, maybe the story of like how I got there and what I was doing. A lot of these photos were taken during certain trips that I took, or during obviously certain hikes or whatever that I did, so I'm just gonna talk about a bit of the story behind that. This first photo was taken at a place called Marlboro Point, just outside of Canyonlands National Park near Moab, Utah. And this was taken last October. I went on a road trip out to Moab, Utah with a friend of mine. We took his van out there. We went out there for about 5 days. But this particular photo, I'd seen this location. I'd seen a few photos of this spot, and I didn't actually know where it was for this photo just after sunset. And kind of why I did that was because I wanted to wait so there were no harsh shadows, because the problem is once the sun was up before it set, or I did actually go there for sunrise as well, and the issue was that once the sun starts to come up, you get really harsh shadows down at the bottoms of the canyon, and you can't really see them. So I shot this after the sun, just after the sun had set, and it created a really nice gradient in the sky, which is nice. There weren't really any clouds that day, but it did create a nice gradient in the sky once the sun set. And also there were no shadows in the scene, which was great. Really beautiful location. I just really love this photo. I think it may not be one of my best photos compositionally, but just it's an incredible location. I would probably like to go back and shoot it again someday. For the second photo, you can actually go see a bit of the story behind this photo if you go watch a vlog of mine that I made back in June. It was Great Sand Dunes National Park, which is in southern Colorado. We kind of just like waited and hung out near the dunes all day. There's this creek that runs through the dunes. It's really cool. We kind of just hung out there all day. We're really waiting for sunset to head up and hike up into the dunes, so that's what we did. I'd been to sand dunes before, but nothing at this, scale. Like the size of these dunes is just massive. We were hiking up, and some thunderstorms started rolling in, and the first one came through. We were about probably halfway up the dunes, and it came in really fast. And let me just tell you, when you're out there in the sand dunes in a thunderstorm, it's like being inside of a sandblaster. We just tried to ride out this storm in the dunes, and it was really painful. I put on like my flannel to try and cover my skin, because it literally is like being inside of a sandblaster, because there's just wind just blowing at you when you get like 30-40 mile an hour winds. It's a giant sandbox. It's very painful. We got up to near close to the top, and then another storm was rolling in. We started seeing the lightning. Everyone else took off running down the dunes, and we were like, we're staying up here. We're gonna wait this out up here in the dunes. It'll pass through in like 10 minutes. Which I was right. It did pass through in about 10 minutes. It was some of the most intense weather I actually have been completely exposed outdoors in. We kind of found like this grassy patch to kind of just like hunker down in, waited out in this little grassy patch up in these sand dunes, and this really intense thunderstorm. It was honestly quite the thrill. But anyway, after we got through, I was walking back up. We were gonna go to the high dune. We were pretty close to the highest dune in the park, and I looked back, and this is where I shot this photo that I'm showing. There was a double rainbow coming out of this really dark thunderstorm cloud that was just past us, that had just moved past us. And I just took out the camera and just like shot this shot, which had my footprints running through it, through the dunes. My friend was standing off in the distance, and you can see him in the distance, and you see like the double rainbow and the dark clouds, and it's honestly one of my favorite images I think I've ever taken. If we wouldn't have decided to wait the storm out in the dunes like we did, would have ran back to the car, I would have never gotten this opportunity to get this photo, which honestly is one of my favorite photos. Definitely one of my favorite photos of 2020, but probably one of my favorite photos I've ever taken, just because of the experience I had to go through to get this particular photograph. And it's just like, it's one of those things, like it was such chance that I was in that exact spot to get this image. It was really just amazing. I love this photo. So that's kind of the story, the brief story behind my double rainbow photo from Great Sand Dunes National Park. Now, this next photo that I'm going to show you was taken last September, basically almost exactly 1 year ago. And it was one of my last hikes that I did that was like really high altitude before, the fall rolled in and it started to get kind of cold up there. So I was taking a spot called Holy Cross City, which is an old mining town which is in the Holy Cross Wilderness area, which is the wilderness area that is literally right here. I'm basically almost in the Holy Cross Wilderness area, and I hike out here all the time. So if you've been watching my videos this summer, then pretty much most of the videos I've uploaded this year have been shot in the Holy Cross Wilderness. So it was an old mining town back in the early 1900s, late 1800s. There were a lot of them out here, and I was really just hiking back down, and the sun was kind of setting, but it was kind of cloudy, so there wasn't any color from the sunset. But this photo, I think the composition just worked really well. I shot it on my Lumix G85 with a 25mm lens that I have, a prime, 25mm prime. This creates really nice leading line with the two cabins and the path kind of leading through, and I just love how this photo turned out, and it really looks really good printed out too. So really happy with this one. Not too much more to say about it, but just a really nice photo, and honestly one of my favorites that I've taken out here in Colorado. I was living in Guatemala this past winter for 3 months, and I did take some nice photos while I was there, and these are the next two photos we're actually taking this past winter when I was in Guatemala, and I just wanted to kind of share these two images, you know, because I just think they're really nice photos, to be honest with you. So I was living in Lake Atitlan in Guatemala for about 3 weeks in November into early December of last year, and there was just one shot that I wanted to get of like this dock with two of the volcanoes off in the background, the other side of the lake at sunset. And I waited for like 2 weeks for the conditions to be right to get a photo like this, because when I first got there, it was still the end of rainy season, so it was really cloudy, and although the lake is surrounded by a few really beautiful like stratovolcanoes, it was cloudy every day, so the volcanoes, you couldn't even see them. They were buried in clouds every single day. But to the end of my 3 weeks there, I actually got up to a point where the clouds started to clear out and it started being dry and it wasn't cloudy. So one evening I hiked down to the lake, walked down to the lake. I was living in a town called San Marcos, which is just a really small kind of like hippie town on the lake. I found the spot, like I had already found the spot that I knew I wanted to shoot of this old, like, you know, very old kind of dock that you think is almost gonna like fall over at some point, but it's just really kind of photogenic and create a really nice leading line kind of leading out into the mountains or the volcanoes in the background. So set up the camera there and I really just waited. I waited for like an hour for the light to get right, and finally, you know, I probably did like a 10 or 13 second exposure, I want to say, on this photo, because it was a bit windy. The lake is very large, so you very rarely get like days that aren't windy here. But this photo, to me, honestly, once again, one of my favorite photos I think I've ever taken. Final photo number 5 is also from my 3 months in Guatemala. This photo was taken in Antigua, and Antigua is a beautiful Spanish colonial city in basically smack in the center of the mountains in Guatemala, and I lived there for about 2 months this winter, and really awesome experience and a beautiful place to live. There's the most famous place, I think, probably in the entire city. I'm pretty sure this is the name. If I'm not correct with the name, I'll put the right name down below, but I believe it's Arco de Santa Catalina is the name of the arch. But normally this is like the busiest street in the entire city, and if you go there during the day or even at sunset, a time that I really want to shoot would be sunset. There's always just too many people there. It's very crowded. It's like the main tourist street, or one of the main tourist streets in the city, so it's really hard to photograph. And I kept looking at it. I'd walk by during the day. I'm like, man, I really want to photograph this location, but I know sunsets just isn't an option because there's too many people. So it was literally like my last week I was in Antigua. It was really just a nice walk there. It's like a 10-minute walk from the hostel I was working and living at the time. And it was really interesting to see the city of Antigua before all the tourists got up, and it was really just locals kind of walking around going to work, and it was just really peaceful time, you know. It was unlike any other time in that city, and I had never experienced being up that early, so that was really cool. But yeah, I got to the arch, and there were only a few people walking the streets at that hour. It was probably 6:30 in the morning, maybe 6:15. So yeah, I kind of was walking around, I lined up my shot, I found the spot, and you know, I took the image. It wasn't like, I don't think the skies weren't great. There weren't any clouds in the skies except for the volcano, which you'll see in the photo does have like a cloud layer moving over the top of it, which was what I was looking for. But I think I'm really happy with how this photo turned out anyway, and although I don't think it's one of my best images I've taken, it is one of my favorite images that I've taken, just because I wanted to get this photo the entire 2 months I was there, and then I finally did like a week before I left. So it was definitely a special photo for me. I do like it a lot. It reminds me of living there. It reminds me of how just amazing and beautiful that city is. These are 5 of some of my favorite photos I've taken over the past few years, and maybe I'll make some more of these videos talking about some more of them, because there's definitely a dozen or more other photos that I could talk about as well and share some of the stories behind them. So yeah, if you did like the video, subscribe to my channel below if you want to see more landscape photography stuff, adventure photography, some travel, hopefully in the future as well. I will definitely be traveling some more. So follow me on Instagram, link below, and my website, envisionadventure.net. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.